Well, this week, the government finally represented the people when it just completely shut down. Honestly, didn't it feel like the government kind of needed a break? Just so we could all catch our breath? Can you believe we're only 9 months into this presidency? That means we still have 3 months and 7 years remaining. I already tried fighting. I'm tired. I went to so many protests this summer. But honestly, it was worth it because we finally got them to change the Cracker Barrel logo back to the original, featuring my actual
After imposing tariffs on Mexico and Canada on Tuesday, President Trump reversed them on Thursday. It's a cunning political tactic experts call bipolar disorder. President Trump said the tariff on goods from Canada is to stop the flow of fentanyl, even though last year only 40 pounds of the drug was seized at the northern border. 40 pounds? What's that, like 2 buttfuls?
One president, 2 comedians. No compassion. Michael Che and Colin Jost don't take their time. They destroy everything in their path. Donald Trump's administration is a circus. Every press encounter is treated as a late-night skit that begs to be ridiculed. And every speech is treated like a blooper reel. This goes beyond simple roasting. It's a full-scale, chaotic, comedy analysis of authority. Trump's antics are outmatched, and the jokes are more powerful than any headline he has ever attempted to manipulate.
Well, President Trump traveled to the Middle East this week, and if I were him, I would have just stayed there because it looked awesome. Trump arrived in Saudi Arabia, where he was greeted with a lavender carpet which matched the color of his tie and also the length. They also rolled out a mobile McDonald's truck for President Trump's visit, featuring Saudi Arabia's most popular new burger, the McJournalist. The Democratic National Committee protested President Trump's plans to accept a $400 million luxury jet from Qatar by flying a banner over Mar-a-Lago reading Qatar-a-Lago. It's the kind of hilarious stunt that makes you realize why the Democrats will never win again. Ethical experts are also warning that Trump may owe political favors to countries who give him lavish gifts. But based on the way he left the Middle East, I think I know how Trump is going to pay them back.
Colin Jost begins by pointing out how ridiculous Donald Trump's most recent ambitious plan is. The man, certain that the world revolves around his hair alone, is strutting through headlines like a king in a shoddy costume. Every presence turns become a show. Every announcement is a display of arrogance. Colin breaks down his artificial intelligence, AI, generated Pope image, emphasizing the bizarre fusion of Photoshop, spray tan, and illusion. He imagines reverence as the rest of the world observes diplomats squinting at their screens. Additionally, Jost makes the entire episode into an absurdity lesson.
I know it's scary for a lot of people right now, but I'm trying to stay positive, and I'm trying to remember the words of a great man.
Nothing bad can happen. It can only good happen.
The last time the U.S. government shut down was during President Trump's first administration in 2018, which was so long ago,
Please click the bell symbol and subscribe to the channel if you like this video. Michael Che then attacks Trump's assertions that the very sight of him is causing foreign leaders to weep. He turns the strained smiles and eye rolls into hilarious gold by imagining them. Every summit turns into a stage. Each handshake creates a dramatic scene. Additionally, every improvisation and press conference went completely off course. The audience is shown that diplomacy is being conducted like an unscripted reality show as Che breaks down the hyperbole and transforms pompous ego into entertainment.
President Trump, while on his trip, said that Iran has sort of agreed to terms for a nuclear deal in the same way Trump has sort of agreed to uphold the Constitution. Many people in Saudi Arabia were very happy with President Trump's visit to the country because rich Saudis love to fly out thick blondes.
The Democratic National Committee protested President Trump's plans to accept a $400 million luxury jet from Qatar by flying a banner over Mar-a-Lago reading Qatar.
Colin Jost takes advantage of Trump's domestic antics by proposing military patrols on public roads and portraying it as a brilliant example of ridiculousness. He depicts a chaotic scene in which every audacious statement is made without planning and governance is improvisation. The economy is reframed as a funfair attraction. Corporations receive tax breaks as glitzy rewards, but regular people are left hanging on the sidelines. The contrast between spectacle and consequence is highlighted by Colin's sarcasm. Every line gets sharper than the one before it.
Israel and Hamas have tentatively agreed to President Trump's plan to end the war in Gaza, and you could tell Trump wrote the plan himself.
A Trump advisor said ICE agents will attend the Super Bowl after Bad Bunny was announced as the halftime performer. You know, to catch all those farm workers who can afford Super Bowl tickets.
Michael Che then focuses on Trump's foreign policies, saying that he regards countries like components of a global risk game. Every treaty is a prop, every pronouncement is a spectacle, and Che makes fun of the blatant uncertainty. He reframes careless statements as ridiculous performance art, allowing viewers to witness how, under Trump's capricious direction, international affairs has evolved into a protracted improvisational stage play. Colin Jost focuses on the economy, turning Trump's assertions of success into sarcastic criticism. Gains on the stock market are praised as inflation increases unchecked. Trump's economic expertise is presented by him as a magic trick. You can see your savings now, but not anymore. Che illustrates listeners that communication under Trump is essentially content creation masquerading as government, drawing attention to the disarray behind the scenes as assistants rush to interpret communications. Colin Jost then reveals the ridiculousness of the ceremonies, showing up to memorials and awards with a flair that seems more focused on appearances than custom. He analyzes each wave, photo opportunity, and handshake, emphasizing the ongoing self-referential display. Collins's humor turns routine appearances into ridiculous displays of conceit and grandeur, transforming protocol into performance.
President Trump has signed an executive order giving refugee status to white people from South Africa. You know, I could have sworn that white people had it good in South Africa. Must be the Mandela effect. The Trump administration announced that after face-to-face talks with China, it is lowering tariffs from 145% to 30%, which is a little like OJ bragging about taking the knife out.
Michael Che uses dramatic exaggeration to criticize environmental policies, highlighting projects that were grandly launched but lacked logic. Jost's examination of past reversals supports the pattern, while he imagines Trump choosing plans haphazardly and arbitrarily, much like he would choose meals from a menu. Che's humor transforms serious topics into humorous criticism by highlighting the ridiculousness of policies implemented for show rather than substance. Colin Jost takes aim at the legal system, turning nominations, court proceedings, and procedural wrangling into ridiculous spectacles. Every legal inconsistency and every significant announcement becomes subject to criticism. Colin shows that even the supposed neutral judiciary serves as support for Trump's continuous performance. Jost's findings also draw attention to the spectacle that is a part of governance. Michael Che uses surgical wit to analyze speeches, rallies, and campaign events. He reveals choreography masquerading as spontaneity, emotional appeal above content, and spectacle-engineered allegiance. For humorous effect, every yell, wave, and chant is disassembled, emphasizing the theatrical mechanisms of popular excitement. In his analysis of human dynamics, Colin Jost demonstrates how Trump uses supporters and advisors as plot devices. Every argument becomes a stage performance, allegiance becomes validation, and criticism becomes theater. The performative aspect of relationships, where government is a byproduct of personal drama, is highlighted in Colin's commentary.
The FDA quietly approved the generic abortion pill just before the shutdown, and I don't have a joke, but whenever I mention a product on the air, they send me a box for free, so. Hey.
President Trump also spoke to a group of military leaders this week, and at one point, he went on a long rant about how good Barack Obama was at walking downstairs. Here's what he said. I'm not going to read it because it's a crazy thing to hear from a president.
Michael Che examines Trump's correspondence. Style, exposing contradiction and exaggeration in all public declarations. Every statement is turned into humorous material, with knowledge and performance combined for optimal impact. Che draws attention to the ways that spectacle constantly triumphs over clarity, leaving viewers stunned and awestruck. Colin Jost focuses on how Trump's bluster has taken over public conversation and nuance has vanished. Dramatization and exaggeration turn into attention-grabbing techniques. And Colin draws attention to the way that absurdity is used to reframe arguments. Every statement is assessed for comedic effect, and the audience perceives the presidency as a narratively driven performance. Chase's criticism highlights how the presidency has often prioritized show above content. In his analysis of legislation, Colin Jost highlights how dramatic timing and visual cues are prioritized over procedural integrity. Every initiative is transformed into comedic material, highlighting the discrepancy between announcement and result. Colin's narrative demonstrates how performance and rhetoric take precedence over policy, establishing a constant platform for ridicule. Michael Che concentrates on dealings with government agencies and Congress. He reinterprets them as narrative instruments for a performance in which spectacle takes precedence over process. Che uses comedy to highlight how attention dominates function and render intricate political ploys blatantly obvious.
The Department of Homeland Security said they may participate in a new reality show in which immigrants would go through a series of challenges for a chance to become a citizen. It's called The Real Housekeepers of Orange County.
According to a new tell-all book, Biden's inner circle revealed that they were worried the president would need a wheelchair in his second term, especially after they were all done stabbing him in the back.
Colin Jost examines cultural criticism, demonstrating how Trump performs self-referentially through accolades, public gatherings, and social trends. Every exchange, claim, or remark is subject to criticism, and Colin's wit makes the ridiculousness instantly clear to viewers. In his analysis of media involvement, Michael Che demonstrates how attention-grabbing tactics, including press conferences, interviews, and public declarations, are used. Contradictions arise, facts are twisted, and Che makes a joke out of every incident, showing how coverage itself becomes a barometer of success. Colin Jost discusses party politics, emphasizing internal conflicts, endorsements, and calculated remarks. He highlights how influence is theatrical in nature, prioritizing show over content and story. Overshadows the policy. Every move creates material for comedy, exposing disturbing and humorous patterns. Michael Che returns to the international scene and looks at agreements, summits, and talks. Every error, exaggeration, and performance is reframed as the most ridiculous theatrical. By turning global issues into plot points for the roast, Che reveals the unpredictable nature of Trump's diplomacy.
Well, America elected Donald Trump to run the country like a business, but it turns out he's running it like one of his businesses. I love that you can intentionally ruin the economy and still get to stay president. It's like if you drunk drove your car through the window of the DMV and they were like, license renewed. It's insane. This was the worst week for the stock market since the summer of 2020. But you have to remember, back then, the president was also Trump.
Colin Jost returns to domestic policy, focusing on performative measures, policy gaps, and tumultuous pronouncements. Every economic assertion, military recommendation, or budgetary strategy becomes fodder for a joke. Colin's remarks repeatedly highlight the discrepancy between spectacle, execution, and intent. In his opening remarks, Michael Che examines Trump's fixation with optics and demonstrates how even everyday occurrences are viewed through the prism of personal branding. Every gesture, from meetings with foreign leaders to ceremonial ribbon cuttings, is planned for maximum visibility. Every hand gesture, wave, and smile is examined for how it affects cable news cycles and social media. Colin Jost then looks at Trump's propensity to turn policy setbacks into spectacular events. When projects fail or draw criticism from the public, he shifts the story as an individual's victory. Colin highlights how ridiculous it is to convert bureaucratic blunders into newsworthy incidents and turn sadness into drama. Every poorly executed rollout, misplaced announcement, or conflicting statement serves as material for comedy, demonstrating how much Trump's style of leadership prioritizes spectacle over substance.
Well, tomorrow marks the start of daylight savings time when we set our clocks ahead, ideally 4 years. After President Trump spent last week defending our historical best friend, Russia, Trump turned this week to attacking our sworn enemy, Canada. That's right, those syrup-guzzling, poutine-munching, moose-humping hockey...
Next, Michael Che analyzes Trump's impact on global opinions, highlighting how subtle diplomacy has been supplanted by grandstanding and hyperbole. Every tweet, podium address, and handshake is magnified as if his emotional outburst were the only thing that could hold the attention of the entire globe. Che highlights the irony of supposing that other countries would view these antics as a cohesive policy, exposing the mismatch between Trump's self-perception and the global landscape. Colin Jost switches to domestic communications, where there is theatrical misinterpretation of communication. When Trump's remarks are spread through the media, they frequently cause pandemonium that overpowers the content. Colin demonstrates how this purposeful theatricality diverts attention and transforms straightforward policy changes into widely shared debates. Every omission, explanation, or retraction serve as fodder for satire, exposing the ridiculousness of a government based more on show than substance. Michael Che discusses Trump's response to national crises, highlighting the flexibility and spontaneity that characterize his style. Whether responding to economic shocks, health crises, or natural disasters, Che shows how rash statements and eye-catching imagery take the place of thoughtful problem-solving. Each high-profile incident turns into a spectacle, demonstrating to viewers how much crisis management has been dominated by spectacle and performance.
President Trump responded to a report showing the U.S. economy was declining by posting, "Be patient." And if his brain gets any worse, he's gonna be patient. Stormy Daniels testified that during their encounter, Donald Trump did not wear a condom. He tried to put one on, but he was blocked by his tie.
After that, Colin Jost examines Trump's dealings with the court, transforming court cases into comedy. Decisions, nominations, and procedural gimmicks are recast as continuations of a reality show in which drama takes precedence above procedural accuracy. Colin highlights the irony in each public legal announcement and court-related news, exposing the discrepancy between the seriousness of the judicial system and the theatricality of Trump's engagement. Che highlights the absurdity of using political allegiance as performance fodder, demonstrating how tactics are frequently overshadowed by showmanship. Colin Jost turns his attention to Trump's interactions with the media and society, emphasizing how entertainment and politics are combined. From interviews to formal appearances, every encounter turns into a rehearsed performance meant to command attention. Colin shows audiences how the presidency functions as an extension of performance art by illustrating how opinion, controversy, and celebrity interaction are used as diversion and spectacle tactics.
In the past 2 days, investors have lost over $6 trillion. Money is leaving the stock market faster than Morgan Wallen at goodnight.
President Trump announced a tariff on all goods imported into the U.S., saying that the U.S. has been plundered and raped by other countries, and Trump will not stand for plundering.
Next, Michael Che examines Trump's handling of public perception in the midst of disputes. Che highlights how the story is controlled through quick reframing and dramatic reactions, whether in the context of scandals, accusations, or criticism. Every error is magnified, downplayed, or renamed, turning responsibility into a show. Che's perspective reveals the performance layers that lie beneath every news cycle, shedding light on how ridiculousness turns into strategy. Returning to the economic realm, Colin Jost demonstrates how Trump manipulates fiscal policies into public relations campaigns. Michael Che then criticizes Trump's use of knowledge and science, highlighting the selective acceptance or rejection of recommendations based on their potential for dramatic effect. Performance serves as a filter for expert recommendations. Dramatic flair frequently surpassing evidence-based judgment. Che makes light of these inconsistencies, highlighting the ridiculousness of leadership that is motivated more by appearances than by thoughtful consideration.
President Trump addressed a joint session of Congress and claimed that no president has changed government faster than him. Yeah, and nobody changed airport security faster than bin Laden. President Trump also said that he signed an executive order to ban men from playing in women's sports. But if men aren't allowed to play women's sports, explain soccer.
Colin Jost goes on to discuss Trump's impact on civic participation and public conversation. Each tweet, comment, and policy declaration influences public discourse, frequently via spectacle and controversy. Colin highlights how discourse has been transformed into a performance that demands attention, demonstrating to viewers that governance involves both legislative and narrative management. Every absurdity is exaggerated for comedic effect, so no mistake is overlooked. Michael Che goes on to illustrate Trump's unwavering brand management, showing how perception and identity take precedence over strategy. Every engagement, from attacks on detractors to self-promotion, is a continuation of individual story. Through humorous analysis, every false remark, publicity gimmick, and theatrical performance is reframed, revealing the irony and ridiculousness inherent in leadership. Colin highlights the unrelenting show, leaving viewers amazed by Trump's continued tumultuous genius, as well as entertained.